The zoologist and the philosopher Neil Evinrude tells the story of how we silence the world. During the 19th century, many vivisectionists routinely severed the vocal cords before operating on an animal. This meant that during the experiment, the animals could not scream. By cutting the vocal cords, experimenters simultaneously denied reality by pretending a silent animal feels no pain. And they affirmed it by implicitly acknowledging that the animal's cries would have told them what they already knew, that the creature was a sentient feeling, and during the vivisection, a tortured being. As Evinrude comments, he said, the rite of passage into the scientific, or I would add the modern, way of being centers on the ability to apply the knife to the vocal cords, not just of the dog on the table, but to life itself. Inwardly, the modern human being must be able to sever the cords of his own consciousness. Outwardly, the effect must be the destruction of the larynx of the biosphere, and an action essential to the transformation of the world into a material object. This is no less true for our relations with our fellow human being. And when I read that, I found that such a powerful, powerful idea. And I find that so true of how I experience the modern world. I think that every one of us here knows, in one way or another, that we are on the tip of an iceberg. And the iceberg runs deep, and the ship's running right into it. Everyone here knows on some level that industrial civilization is not sustainable. We all know that. It cannot be sustainable. Any technology that relies on the use of non-renewables is by definition not sustainable. We could have solved these problems 50 years ago, but we aren't going to solve these problems in the next 20 years. We can start maybe. But I think that we are in for a very, very difficult time. One of the ways to say this, I suppose, is that Dorothy is not in Kansas anymore. Okay? And Dorothy's not coming back to Kansas. She has to go through this whole thing, all of her trials, you know. To go through the forest to find the ruby slippers, to meet the cowardly lion, to confront the evil witch of the north, to go to the great Emerald City to meet the wizard. This is what we have to do. This is our path, I think. This is not going to be easy. And like that great Oz told, the great Oz asked Dorothy and her friends, so the politicians of our day, they ask us, pay no attention, the great Oz said, to the man behind the curtain. Because the great deception is alive and well. Because once Dorothy got to Oz, of course, Oz was the land of all power, right? Dorothy had her magic shoes. If only she had clicked her heels, she had the power all along to achieve her dream, right? But Dorothy thought that if she followed the yellow brick road, like a gold brick, right, that she would end up like in the Emerald City. This is where her salvation is going to be. You know, the Emerald City, like greenbacks, yeah? And there she goes to what? Meet the great wizard. You remember that? And then in their little Toto runs, you know, the great wizard, he's got fire coming out his nose and smoke coming out his ears and all this stuff, right? And then little Toto, her dog, runs over and grabs that curtain and pulls it back, right? And there the great wizard is exposed. He's just like this old white guy who's, you know, doing his thing, pulling the levers, lying to the people to maintain his power. And he says to Dorothy, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And this is what we have been doing as a culture for how many years? Ignoring the man behind the curtain. And now the chickens are going to come home to roost. You know, I remember before we had CDs and all that stuff, that was a big deal. You remember watching the Wizard of Oz? Because it only came on once a year. Remember that? And it was like, man, you would look, oh, why, Wizard of Oz is going to be on. So all the kids, yay, and we watch The Wizard of Oz, right? And it's wonderful because like it starts out in black and white, and then all of a sudden it goes, this burst of this, and we look forward to this all year long, and it was really a wonderful thing, right? The Wizard of Oz was written by this guy, L. Frank Baum, and he was born in May 15th, 1856. And in July 1888, he and his wife moved to Aberdeen, south of Aberdeen in the Dakota Territories, where he opened a store. And he wasn't very good as a storekeeper because he'd give a lot of stuff away. So he probably wasn't, a bad guy. He was just a man of his time. So after the store closed, he turned to editing a local newspaper, the Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer. After the Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890, Native Americans were the target of his editorials in the paper. He explained that the safety of Euro-Americans depends upon the extermination of Indians. Baum wrote, upon hearing the death of the Sioux chief Sitting Bull, he wrote the following editorial for the Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer, and I'll share with you just a couple sentences from it. Sitting Bull, most renowned Sioux of modern history, is dead. He was not a chief, but without kingly lineage, he arose from a lowly position to the greatest medicine man of his time by virtue of his shrewdness and daring. The proud spirit of the original owners of these vast prairies, inherited through centuries of fierce, bloody wars for their possession, lingered last in the bosom of Sitting Bull. With his fall, the nobility of the redskin is extinguished, and what few are left are a pack of whining curs who lick the hand that smites them. The whites, by law of conquest, by justice of civilization, are masters of the American continent, and the best safety of the frontier settlements will be secured by the total annihilation of the few remaining Indians. Why not annihilation? Their glory is fed, their spirit broken, their manhood effaced. Better that they die than live the miserable wretches that they are. That was Act 1, the great wizard silencing of nature.
Stand up right now, now. Never forget now. As we stand up for our generation now. Yeah, now. Never forget now. Stand up
Today's date is 12/28/2014 at 9:25 p.m. We are reaching all the way out to you from beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. The news story released by TTTG News Networking, the military aerosol spraying of North Dakota. We found out basically what's taking place. According to information, the cleaning up depleted uranium with fungi. Someone in the University of Dundee found a way to use fungal hyphae, it's spelled hyphae, with crystals in urinated phosphate. I wish I had a scientific mind so I could pronounce all this stuff. But anyway, according to what I've read, because of all the use of depleted uranium in military weapons, all the way from Iraq to Iran, and according to other information we found in the Dakota Badlands, the United States military is aerosol spraying the United States with this fungi. At the same time, they're using depleted uranium as a catalyst. This works together and it makes the temperatures colder. It reduces, according to this, it reduces the contamination from depleted uranium dust and soil in other organisms. I mean, it's like, this is like reading a sci-fi. What I'm going to do is save the link and all the information, and I've been working at this for 4 hours straight, following every lead and everything that that's been shared. So I'm just going to go ahead and share the photos, and this is just our way of saying that, we're still on top of this. We're not going to stop until we find out everything there is to find out. But we do know that this depleted uranium in the United States is causing birth defects to children, animals. It's just a great big mess. It's the United States government at their best in screwing shit up. Pardon my language, but that's exactly what they've done, and now they're reaching out to other scientists and using fungi to try to clean up this mess. Here, I'll just share the data. Right now I'm kind of like stumbling over my tongue and my mind at the same time, trying to read all this crap, making heads and tails of it. Enjoy the slideshow, and I do assure you that all this information is 100% correct.
San Francisco Peak. There's many medicines on them hills. They want to take contaminated contaminated water and turn it into snow, artificial snow, and spray it on a mountain that's very sacred to indigenous people.
Keep sharing the song. If you can't block, tweet. If you can't tweet, like. But by all means, keep sharing.